Hey, Texas Tech, Justin Patton here. First, I just want to say hello formally to all of you in the class, reading the book. You know, I know this whole idea about how to be a better leader of yourself and self-reflection, it is not easy work. I heard one of you all said, gosh, this is deep. I agree. And so I just honor your commitment and your courage to look at yourself in a way that some people will never do in their entire life. So I just say I appreciate it. I'm super excited to come in and learn about what you've taken away and how I can help just with your learning even more. But also, I found out that this week you're on the chapter about owning your voice. And so I just wanted to give you a quick thought. On page 95, I talked about how that when you find your voice, you find your confidence. And so many people think that, when I'm confident, I will speak up. And it just doesn't work that way. That what happens is you speak up and you gain a little confidence. There's going to be other times that you speak up and you don't get it right. But what you're going to do is every time you do that, and even when you don't get it right, you learn about yourself. You learn about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and you get better. And every time you get better and every time you put yourself out there, you gain a little bit more confidence. And that's how you get to a place where you can really own your voice in a really authentic way. On the exercise on page 98, which I think most of you did it, we talked about the 6 ways that people give up their voice. So I wanted to share the 2 that I chose that have impacted my life and just give you some quick thoughts about them. Number 4 was one for me about stop expressing your ideas and feelings. And when you do that, you give away your voice. Ironically, I don't really have a hard time with that with people that I know really well. It's more in casual relationships or out at a restaurant where maybe they get my order wrong. And sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, I don't think I'm just going to say anything. But I'm stewing on it for 5, 10, or 15 minutes. And I've gotten to the point in my life where I say, this is the test. The test is for me to speak up in a really respectful, tactful way about what it is that I need or that I want. And every time I've done it, it all works out okay. I'm going to give you another example. I travel almost every week for work, and I was on a Delta flight, and everyone's in the boarding process. And you all know, once you get on the plane, you sit, you put your stuff, your baggage in the overhead compartment, then you sit down. Well, all of a sudden, I see this gentleman get on the flight, and he puts his bag up, and then he walks back to the front and walks off the plane. And I'm looking around like, you can't do that. If you all don't know, once you get on the plane, they don't let you off. They will tackle you if you try to get off the plane. And I'm sitting there for 5 minutes looking around did anybody else just see what just happened? And all of a sudden I start to get nervous. All this craziness starts to go through my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, who is that guy? Does he work for the airport? Did he just put a bomb up there? Are we all gonna die? I'm getting really nervous here. And I'm also sitting here thinking, do I say something? Because the airport teaches you, see something, say something, see something, say something. And it's going through, this mantra is just going through my mind. And I'm I'm nervous and I'm uncomfortable to say something because I'm they're just gonna think I'm crazy. I'm gonna be that guy and I don't wanna cause a commotion among everyone else. And so for the next 10 minutes, we're getting to the point where they're about to close the door. And this gentleman has not come back on the plane yet. And I was like, I am not trying to die today, y'all. I am not. So I finally got the courage. And it took a lot for me to get up. I went up to the very front of the plane and talked to the flight attendant. I was like, hey, listen. I was like, this is probably no big deal. But I saw a gentleman get on the flight, put his bag up, and then he walked off. And I haven't seen him come back on, and it kind of makes me a little nervous. And then she told me that he was actually part of the crew. He's actually going to sit up there in the cockpit and all that. And honestly, though I kind of just laughed it off, I felt so much better at least saying something and having an answer. It was the clarity of knowing that gave me peace. Because had I not known, I would have sat there for the next hour and a half of this flight, worried about what could have happened. And we do that in our relationships all the time. We don't say what we want, and then we create all these stories or these assumptions that drive us crazy. When if we just had the courage to own our voice and say or ask what we need, the clarity of that answer would help us feel better. We might not like the answer, but it's the clarity of that answer that'll help us make better choices and understanding what we need to do moving forward. So number 4 was a lesson I've really had to learn a lot in my life. And the other one is number 6. And this is the one that I see the most often with people that I work with, is they give away their voice when they do not manage the approach for how they deliver their truth or their message. I always tell people, I don't teach all this because I got it all together. I made a lot of mistakes. I remember one key moment where I did not manage my approach. I was in Miami, Florida, and I got into this huge argument with a friend. I don't even remember today what the argument was about, but I remember being on the couch and we're kind of yelling, going at it, defending our positions. I've got to show you why you're wrong and I'm right. And this person is not very emotional. And at some moment in the conversation, this individual starts to cry. And that was a wake-up call for me, because you all, when I get in those moments, I'm relentless. And I realized this person felt so isolated, unheard, that I had sucked all the oxygen out of the room in the conversation. This person just felt like there was no way that they were even going to be heard or understood. And as a result, the only thing left for this person to do was to kind of break down. And as a result, the relationship was sacrificed. And how many times, whether it's in our personal relationships with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, with family, or even other athletes on your team, when you feel like you have to defend your truth, because what does it mean if I'm wrong? Confident people aren't worried about being right. Confident people are worried about being heard, but they also understand they have to be heard the right way. And I've got to ensure that my presence makes it safe for other people to tell their truth just as much as it is for, I hope that their presence allows me to be heard and understood as well. And so that was a defining moment in my life where I look back where I really got it wrong, but I also really learned a valuable lesson that I hope I will never repeat again. And more importantly, understanding how do I use my presence to make it safe for people to tell me the truth. I hope it gives you something to think about as you go through here. What 2 did you come up with, and what do you need to do a little bit better? And even more importantly, what are some just actions that you can hold yourself accountable to? If you're at the restaurant and something isn't right, do you have the courage to say something? If you're in a relationship right now and it's not going well, do you have the courage to say, listen, I want this to work, but I can tell we're both unhappy. I don't know how to make it work, but I want to work on it. Where do we go from here? Or are you on your sports team? Are you at a place where, first of all, other people are doing some awesome stuff? And do you use your voice to recognize them and encourage them and motivate them to continue doing that? And maybe some other people are going through some stuff and they just need someone to sit down and say, hey, what's going on? But they got to make it safe enough for that person to tell them the truth. So, hope it gives you something to think about. Hey, I would love to know your thoughts. So, drop me a line on social media. It's JP Inspires, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to see all of you pretty soon, and I can't wait for it. So, if no one tells you they believe in you, I believe in you. Keep making a difference. Talk to you soon.